Solving literal equations. I'm just starting with a blank screen again. Nice and neat and tidy. So the examples that I've got are all compound interest based. So they are real applications, literal applications. The first example is a compound interest formula that has A equals P, open bracket 1 plus R over 100 to the power of N, where P is the principal, R is your interest rate, N is the length of time or the term, and A is your future value. Most of the time we pop the values in and we try to find our future value. So we know our principal, we know our rate, we know our how many years we've invested for. But in this case, we do know our future value, but we don't know our principal. So I start by popping my formula in. If anyone's following, I'm on page 64 of the textbook. So A equals P times 1 plus, my laptop keyboard doesn't have a fraction button, R over 100, move to the outside and close the bracket. Then I go to the power, use that little hat symbol there, the power of N, and then I press sideways. So that takes me away from being up with the indices, back to having a larger cursor again. And I need to put I'm substituting with little line there, and put in what I'm substituting my values for. Now I'm going to use my keyboard so it moves a little bit faster. My A value in this case is equal to 4,500, put in my space, and R is equal to 8%, space, and my N value is equal to 6 years. Now, previously we would have learned that the principal and the future value both have capital letters, but in CAS it doesn't recognise capital letters. Unfortunately, there's no shift button for any of this. Oh, there is, but we don't use it. Okay, and we hit enter. We have 4,500 is equal to a fraction times P. If I want to find that in decimal form, I press Control and enter. Now, I will show in the next example how to put this into decimal form automatically rather than having to do that and taking up a little bit more time. I still have P as an unknown. So we're going back a couple of videos and we're going to use our solve function. So we go menu, 3 for algebra, 1 for solve. And I now type in ANS. This ANS gives me this previous answer. And then I put my cursor back here, put in a comma, bottom left-hand corner of your calculator screen, and I put in my P, then I close the value. So close the brackets. So I'm solving for the answer in terms of P. Means rearranging the formula to find my P value. And I hit enter. I found P to be equal to $2,835.76. So 6 years ago, I invested $2,800. It grew at a rate of 8% over 6 years, and suddenly I've got $4,500. Pretty straightforward. If I was to do that an alternate way, I could. I would have to do it as put the equation in and find it in terms of P, then put each of my values in and find an answer. So I'll show you how to do that without confusing too much. I would put in solve, open bracket. I'm going to cheat and just highlight this equation because I can. Did you know that you can actually use Control-C and Control-V like you would in a Word document to copy some of your formulas? So I'm pressing Control. I'm going to try this. Control-C for copy. Click it down here and then press Control-V. Ta-da! Bit exciting. So I would then do comma P and close the bracket. So I'm now going to be solving this equation in terms of P. Haha. It has now got P on the left-hand side of that equal sign in terms of everything else. Then I scroll up, highlight that, or I type in answer, and then I go Control equals find my thingy, my straight line there, and then I have to put in all of my values. So my A is equal to 4,500, and my R is equal to 8, and my N is equal to 6. Let's see what happens. I end up with everything as a decimal form, a fraction form, and just have to Control Enter to get that into decimal form. Now, both answers are correct. They're exactly the same answer. Both ways are correct. I like the previous way better than the latter way, just because I feel that there's too many digits floating around, a little bit too confusing. The first method of nominating the values, so for example, A equaling 4,500, is a little bit cleaner than rearranging the formula, then substituting your values. CAS won't discriminate. CAS will accept you either way, depending on which way you choose, but it is easier and cleaner to do it the first way rather than the second. So for this second example, I'm going to use the first method that I showed you. So I've got that same formula again. I'm going to cheat a little bit because I don't want to have to type it all again. Scroll right up to the top. You can actually use your up and down arrows as I've got here. So I'm just pressing the up arrow here. Let's try and find something there. Now, go to the beginning there. If I press Shift and then I press oops, it doesn't work with that. Use the mouse in the middle there. And then I hold this and highlight. Doesn't exactly work on my fake calculator screen, but it does actually work on yours. You can scroll up, copy that, again with Control C, go right down to the bottom, then hit Control V, like I said, just as you would in a Word document. Now the only difference I'm going to do is I'm going to put a full stop here after the number 1, and my full stop is here. 1 full stop. So A equals P times 1 full stop plus R over 100 to the power of N. My reasoning for putting this full stop after either the 1 or the 100 means that it's automatically going to convert the answer to decimal form because there is a decimal number in there. So popping in my values for this second one, we're now finding the R value. We've got R as our unknown. We have an A value. So our A in this instance is 8,650. And our P value is equal to 6,500. And my N is 4. I don't know my R value. He should have given it to me in decimal form. That's all right. Scratch that. The textbook might be wrong. If I hit enter, I'm back into decimal form. It's not going to hinder me at all. I've still got R as an unknown. So I want to rearrange the formula and solve for that R. So I'm using my solve function, menu 3-1, and type in A and S, my answer. It picks up the previous answer in terms of R and close the bracket. As I said, this is a less wordy kind or less numberish and overwhelming kind of solution. It's easier to nominate your values in the first step with that substitution line, and then find the value of the missing pronumeral or use the solve function as the second step. I hit enter and I end up with 2 answers. I either get R is equal to negative 207 and a bit, or R equals 7 and a bit. I know in this instance R is going to be 7.4, etc., because you can't have a negative interest rate. Not when you're talking finance. Even if you're discussing depreciation. It's not a negative value. It is just a lesser value. The interest rate in this case is 7.4%. So we're going to round that to 1 or 2 decimal places depending on what the question asks. So my next video will be moving on to solving simultaneous equations. Thanks.